Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Bridging Research and Practice Conference. I'm Constance Kim with SHARE, and I'm very happy to be here. Welcome to everyone. This session is the Peers in Crisis Services, and I'm going to read the bio of the presenters. All of the sessions at today's event are also being recorded, so they will be available for everyone. And again, if you can please put your name and email and contact info in the chat so we can send you a survey. And if you're interested in the recording or any of the materials, the printouts, we can send those as well. If everyone attending would please mute and remain muted unless you are called upon to speak, that would be great. And if you have any questions or technical problems, please send me a note directly in the chat.
Saw him.
Okay, so let me tell you about the presentation today and our presenters. Katrina, Killian, Janavi, Dhyani, DeeDee, Thatcher, and Emmanuel, Fonlupt. Is that correct? Okay, great. Thank you. The Alameda County Network of Mental Health Clients will be presenting on their 30 years of expertise in peer services, including peer services in SUD, housing, and crisis services. The network will speak about long-standing community relationships, as well as the peer certification process and their BestNow training available to new or existing peer services workers. Katrina, Killian is the executive director. Janavi, Dhyani is the director of operations. DeeDee, Thatcher is the employment specialist, BestNow. Emmanuel, Fonlupt is the crisis service project coordinator at the Berkeley Drop-In Center. And I'm very excited to introduce our presenters. So it's all yours. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Constance. We're so happy to be here. I'll let everybody go through if they want to introduce themselves further. Yeah, again, my name is Janavi. I'm the Director of Operations. I use she, her pronouns. And while we're introducing ourselves, it'd be great if everybody could introduce themselves in the chat as well. If you want to put your name, where you're tuning in from today. So I am tuning in from Oakland, California, and our entire team is in Alameda County. And then we got to keep it light and fun, right? Because we're dealing with some heavy stuff kind of every day. So if you also want to tell us the animal that you think of when you think of your city, you can do that as well. So where you're from and the animal you think of when you think of your city, and put that in the chat, and I'll read them as they come up, and I'll pass it to the rest of my team if they want to introduce themselves further, and then we'll get started today.
Hi, everyone. As mentioned before, I'm Katrina Killian, the Executive Director of the Alameda County Network of Mental Health Clients. Really excited about being here. Looking forward to sharing more with you all about who we are as an organization. I am, as Janavi mentioned, located in Alameda County. And when I think of my city, I think of elephants because of the A's.
Hey everybody, I'm DeeDee Thatcher, and I'm the employment specialist with BestNow, and I'm glad to be here. It's just really exciting. I also live in Oakland, and when I think of an animal that represents Oakland, I think of a Black Panther.
Hello, my name is Emmanuel Fonlupt. I'm the crisis management manager, project coordinator for and when I live in Berkeley. I live a block away from our location here. And when I think of an animal, I think of the rooster from my roots of Paris, France.
Awesome. I'll read out some stuff from the chat here. Let's see. Sherry says squirrels. Love that. Samantha, tuning in from Washington, D.C., says a panda, right, from the National Zoo. Adrian says coyotes. Sylvia says that they are tuning in from Kingsview. And Susan Emerson says a dog. Awesome. I am originally from Rockville, Maryland. And when I think of Rockville, I actually think of a zebra because I had a neighbor with a petting zoo and the zebra would always get loose and we would find it running through the neighborhood. It's just a funny story, but I always think of a zebra when I think of my hometown. Awesome. We'll go ahead and get started. Starting off with who we are. I'll toss it to Katrina.
All right, so our mission statement, the mission of the Alameda County Network of Mental Health Clients, also called the Network, is to improve the quality of life of mental health clients within Alameda County by promoting freedom of choice, empowerment, and independent living in the community. We are accomplishing this mission by supporting peer-run programs and advocating for a truly client-responsive mental health system. So our network values, people with mental health challenges have the right to determine their own pathways to recovery and wellness. This is about being client-centered. Each person has a unique understanding of their own mental health experiences and what supports they may need to manage them. All people have the right to safe housing, healthy food, accessible and appropriate healthcare, meaningful relationships, and a sense of connection within their community. So a little bit about our history of the history of the survivor movement. At a time when African Americans, our LGBTQ community, women, people with disabilities, and other oppressed groups were forming movements for their human and civil rights. And so at this time of development of the rising of the survivor movement, there were so many other things happening in our community around the rights of a variety of individuals. After decades of inhumane treatment and denial of basic human rights, patients, consumers, clients came together in the mid-60s and 70s to organize for their rights and discover they were not alone. It's like when you are in isolation, when you come out and share your story, you find out that you are not alone and you begin to build your community. Psychiatric institutions were shut down nationwide, and former patients were able to come together in small groups to share their experiences, validate their feelings, and organize for change. Many people were so hurt by their experiences, they were injured in their experiences in the mental health system, and they separated themselves from it entirely. This is the emergence of alternative care, client-driven care, self-help. Many people, activities included demonstrations, newsletters, consciousness rising groups, self-education and conferences, unfunded by outside support and held on campgrounds and college campuses. So we think about the alternatives and how many years that conference has been in operation. It started out as folks gathering on campsites at their own expense. This is us coming together to support us. So things like this network news. So as you can see, it's very old. It goes back, 1972 to 1986. And this is publications developed and distributed by the folks of the community. And so they were speaking from their perspectives and speaking about the things that they needed changed, around the services that we were receiving in psychiatric support.
And today our newsletter is actually called the Network News as a callback to this original publication.
Yep. So some self-help history, some how it works. In the 1980s, these survivor activities were seeing activists, we're seeing many of their goals realized and some considering being involved with the system and receiving government funding for peer-run mental health programs. This was a moment of breakthrough for us, that there were opportunities to work with the system and to work independently as an alternative. Peer-run programs grew nationwide. Peers had access to training and conferences funded by the mental health system, and consumers starting working inside the system. This is where we begin to work collaboratively, where the client voice is being heard and a part of the process and development. In 1983, the movement pioneers like Howard Hart and Sally Zinman and many others helped fund the California Network of Mental Health Clients. It was started through a block grant. And so in 1985, Sally went on to fund the Berkeley Drop-In Center, and Howie funded what later became known as the Oakland Independent Support Center, also goes by OICE. And so those two pioneers developed the first centers in Alameda County. And in 1988, Sally and Howie wrote a proposal to create an umbrella organization to support the Alameda County client-run programs, which has come to be known as the Alameda County Network of Mental Health Clients. So the Berkeley Drop-In Center is our very first funded program. And so before we get into the programs, we'll talk about how peer-run recovery is different from how folks have been accessing service prior to the development. So both the peer giving support and the peer receiving support benefit. This is mutuality. Building empathy and trust through shared lived experiences. Focus on what's strong instead of what's wrong. Our system has always looked at what's the problem, let's fix it, but let's build upon the strengths that will actually support the development of the support, the strength. Recovery is real and possible for everyone. The needs and desires of participants are at the center, client-centered. Honors the many tools that people can use in their own recovery. We have to be a part of that process. Peer specialists are a living example of hope and resiliency. We're all walking models that recovery is possible. So our place within the system, we are funded by the Mental Health Services Act, Prop 63. A lot of work and energy went into getting that proposition to pass. Under contract with Alameda County Behavioral Health Care, so through Behavioral Health Care Services, our programs are all across Alameda County from Berkeley to Fremont. All services are voluntary. All programs are all managed by people who have personal lived experience with recovery and the mental health system. So there's a variety. Every single individual that provides supports and services within our organization is someone who has personal experience. We offer important alternatives to traditional medical model-based services. We not necessarily sit as an alternative as this or this, but rather these are all the parts of recovery services. And self-help is in the traditional is all a part of the will work of recovery. So under the network umbrella, we have 5 operating programs. We have the Berkeley Drop-In Center in Berkeley. We have the Tennant Support Program in Oakland. We have Reach Out in Oakland. We have Reaching Across in Fremont, and we have the BestNow program in Oakland. So Reaching Across, it is located in Fremont, formed following a 1993 Consumer Speaks conference that focused on reaching clients in the more isolated southern end of Alameda County. And many of you know, well, folks that are in Alameda County, a lot of the services are centralized in North County. And so when we go further out, it's less services. And so this was very important to provide this particular service at that end of the county. Named after a 1987 guide to organizing self-help groups. And so our philosophy is people are strongly encouraged to share their difficult experiences with people facing similar challenges. This is peer support. Participants at Reaching Across are considered valuable people with important insight who are capable of helping both themselves and others. They are the center. So some things about Reaching Across. It is the first peer-run wellness center in Fremont. It's a robust variety of weekly facilitated groups addressing 5 key dimensions of wellness. So intellectual, so it's education-based, it's physical, spiritual, social, and emotional. We have monthly community building Zoom lunches, like we're building in the face of COVID, we've had to get creative with how we continue to reach our community. And so all of our support groups have moved online, and we make sure that we continue to have a variety. So there's, the online community exploration and individual peer counseling. All of this stuff is happening online currently. We have the Tenant Support Program, which is located downtown Oakland. It's the Alameda County's first peer-run housing program that's very specific to serving individuals with mental health challenges around their housing needs and resources, advocacy. It opened in April of 1993 at the Aztec Hotel. It moved to the California Hotel in 1996. At that time, the program was very isolated to the folks that were in those housing settings. It provided tenants with peer counseling, substance use counseling, independent living skills, workshops, social activities, rap groups, and referrals to other community services. So things like move-in dollars, vouchers, transportation, things of that nature that were also provided to those tenants. Now we are housed downtown Oakland, continues to focus on housing services for people engaged in the county mental health services, but it's open to anyone who presents that shows up and they are a mental health client in Alameda County. It's no longer tied to the location of where we're housed, which opens us up to serve more folks that need that level of support. Also a part of the tenant support program, in general, it's housing search support, housing rights, information and resources, peer counseling and support groups, including weekly rap groups, assistance with resources such as everyone home loan applications and referrals to other housing and service providers in the community, computers available for participants to use for seeking housing, anything that a person may need that they have access to jump online at this particular site. We also support shelter vouchers, so really linking people to immediate housing, as well as supporting folks with long-term housing with applications, notifications, anything that an individual would need to get housed. This program provides supports in that way. Outreach to mental health clients in single room occupancy hotels, also known as SROs, in downtown Oakland, and security deposits, rental assistance for people receiving mental health services within Alameda County contracted providers. And then we have Reach Out. Reach Out is one of our older programs. It started in 1983. It was a townhouse creative living day treatment program in Oakland. It was a part of their program initially, and it was started by Gladys Robinson, who was a mental health consumer herself. She understood the isolation and loneliness that people can experience while being hospitalized for mental health. They formed a team of consumer volunteers to reach out to individuals hospitalized for mental health. All staff and volunteers have personally experienced hospitalization and or living in a board and care facility. So some things that Reach Out provides, monthly visits to Alameda County psychiatric hospitals, mental health recovery centers, board and care homes, offering peer support, a copy of a monthly peer empowerment publication called PEP, referrals and resources, hygiene supplies, snacks, movie, music, and more. We really try to look at all the wellness components that we can bring into folks that may not have access at that time, and really look at how to support them, moving forward once they come out, once they're released. Volunteers share their real life experience, including navigating the mental health system and living independently in the community. Maintain contact with peers who now live successfully in the community. So it's ongoing support. Referrals to other client-run self-help groups to assist people in hospitals, recovery centers, board and care homes, and getting what they need to live in the community. And so things like housing, immediate housing, long-term housing applications, things of that nature, we provide ongoing support for folks as they're going through the process of where they are currently. Visitors receive a small stipend. So our volunteers are folks that have been in these situations. They've been in board and cares, they've been in locked facilities. And so they're able to provide not only modeling, but also navigating resources and supports. And so each of our volunteers receive a small stipend. They receive training in communication skills and support group facilitation, coupled with personal satisfaction of helping others and letting them know there are folks like them who care, that are in the community. So this is a quick snapshot of our peer employment publication. And it's a gambit of things like the resources, explains a little bit about who we are. It definitely shares, in addition to the resources, there are other components in terms of, community activities. Every publication has a section of, a shared story from someone in our community that identifies as a mental health client. So it's continuing to share your story and express recovery is possible through modeling. And so I'm going to, hand it over to DeeDee. She's going to talk a little bit about the BestNow program.
Thank you, Katrina. And I apologize. I don't know if you guys can hear the beeping in the background, and my fire detector battery decided to go out. So anyway, thank you. So BestNow is an amazing program, and it was founded in 1998 as Jobs Now, and it evolved into the BestNow program, which stands for Building Employment Strategies Through Networking on Wellness. And it recognizes that people like us have lived experiences with mental health challenges, but that we can still offer support and understanding to our peers, and through our own lived experiences. The training is designed to enhance the existing skills that the mental health consumer possesses due to their personal experiences. So leveraging on, our life experiences. And the program believes that the practice of wellness and recovery offers hope and encouragement to any consumer who wants to improve their life through the model of BestNow and through peer empowerment. So the BestNow peer specialist training is specifically designed for consumers who are interested in working in the mental health or human services field as peer specialists. And the curriculum covers a wide range of subjects, and it focuses on self-empowerment, self-determination, peer support, and employment development. The training is currently 4 weeks long. It's 12 sessions. The peers have an additional 6 hours per week of self-paced learning. It's a total of 80 hours for the program completion. And after the training, there's an optional internship opportunities available at different mental health community-based organizations in Alameda County. And as far as our graduate support team, we work together very closely. We provide the graduates with opportunities to stay connected with BestNow and their classmates. It's really an opportunity to leverage the relationships that they've built while they are getting the education towards the peer specialist, the training. They've built those core relationships, and we try to foster that to make sure that they stay close and that they support each other in the spirit of what we're learning. We offer ongoing support with help with resumes, job opportunities that are presenting themselves, both known within the network, and we reach out as well to the community at large. Of course, other agencies, community activities, and general program involvement. We host alumni events and luncheons. We had a great luncheon at the beginning of December. It was in person, and we were very health conscious, and you can see the photo that we had there. We had a really great turnout. It was really, really a good event. And then we also offer mentorships. There are opportunities for people who have been out there doing this and who want to help their peers get more involved. So it's an amazing program. As far as moving forward with this, California statewide peer certification SB 803 passed on September 25th of 2020. The specific programming to support formerly incarcerated people and people with criminal records is in process. We are working to be more collaborative with other groups, strengthen community connections, diversify our funding and grassroots foundations. The virtual peer support specialist trainings are in process, and that allows everyone to have access to the certification, even amidst what we are experiencing, in regards to COVID. And, I think that it shows that we're very, we're versatile, we're able to move very quickly and adapt. And I think it's setting a really good example. And then a peer support and crisis services. This is something that is being embraced very fully through other programs that are working throughout Alameda County Network for Mental Health Clients. And then as far as, I think that wraps up my slide there, Janavi, is that correct?
Yeah, thanks so much, DeeDee. That's my coffee maker going off, so I think we're all getting the beeps today. Yeah, so I just wanted to pause here and check in with everybody, because I know we have peers from all over the country. So I wanted to hear if there's any questions about the information we've presented so far, if this sounds similar to what you're doing in your community, or anything else, any comments or questions before we dive deeper into peers and crisis services. And feel free to just take yourself off mute and speak out, or put something in the chat and we'll catch it. Nobody has any comments or questions? I'm sure somebody does.
Yes, you guys have a great program. I love it. I wish it would come down, something like this would come down to LA. Love every minute of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Joanne. Appreciate that.
My name is Emmanuel Fonlupt. I just recently moved here with my wife from Kentucky. And it's been interesting as a peer support specialist, seeing how California approaches and their training and their schooling is different than ours. And some of the subject matters are different. So I'm excited in seeing and creating a blend or a hybrid, and seeing how we can strengthen our skills as peer supports.
Thank you, Emmanuel. Yeah, I think, California is one of the last states to have a peer certification at the state level. So yeah, I was interested to hear people from other states or other countries, how things are going for them in the certification process. Karen from the UK says it sounds like an amazing program of work, very different to over here. And I wonder how approaches vary across the US. Great question, Karen. Does anybody else from other parts of the US that are on? I know we have people from LA and New York and across the country. Does anybody want to share how they think it differs or varies across the country?
My name is Emmanuel again. The one thing I've noticed from Kentucky, the main difference that I've noticed is that in California, there seems to be specialty peer supports where there's more focus on mental health crisis or mental health training or drug and alcohol or co-occurring. That in Kentucky, it is just a blanket. There is no specialty. But we do address the issue of harm reduction as a primary form of peer support, communication, and belief system in Kentucky. So that's a little different than what I've encountered so far here.
Thank you, Emmanuel. Does anybody else want to add in before we move on? Karen says thank you. All right. 3, 2, 1. Okay, we will move on to talk more about the Berkeley Drop-In Center in what we're doing in crisis services and how we believe peers should be involved in the entire crisis continuum. So first, I wanted to talk about what is an SCU. So that first thing said, the Berkeley Drop-In Center engaging in bridge services for the SCU. So what is an SCU? An SCU is a specialized care unit. And the city of Berkeley decided it was necessary to create such a unit after doing some research in who was currently responding to mental health crises. And primarily it was police force. And we saw that Alameda County had the highest rate of 5150s out of anywhere else in the state of California. And if you're not familiar with what a 5150 is, I think the code varies from state to state and of course across countries. A 5150 is an involuntary hold of somebody. So this led to increased rates of incarceration and hospitalization for mental health crises and substance use crises. And so it was thought that this could be better managed in one way. We also saw that police forces, when they had to predominantly respond to these crises, it was taking a long time. And we thought there must be a better way we could support people who need help. So they thought to develop a specialized care unit, which we know is already being implemented across the country and other places. For example, we're looking to Bend, Oregon, who are doing some great things with peers in crisis programming. So that's going on here. And then what does the SCU model look like? So how they're hoping to form the SCU, and both of these graphics are coming from the recommendations from the RDA to the city of Berkeley. So over the last year, they've been doing a deep community dive into seeing what people want out of a specialized care unit. And this was the recommendation that they found. They saw that they want 24/7 response. So just having a 9-to-5 operation doesn't work, right? Because you can't really control when your crisis is going to happen. Yeah, I'll schedule my crisis will happen tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. so I know someone will be able to help me, right? We know it doesn't work like that. So we need 24/7 crisis response. And they saw that it can't just be one person that holds it, right? When it was just the police officers that were going out to respond to crises, it wasn't working because we didn't have the community partnerships. So even when the SU is implemented, it'll be working in collaboration, in coordination with the other programs in the area that have these deep community connections, like the Berkeley Drop-In Center. So what is an SCU model? So we already talked a little bit about what kind of calls the SCU will be responding to. So it will be primarily substance use and mental health crises calls, but they would not respond to any sort of call where there's a weapon on scene, or if it's two neighbors having a fight over something, right? Any situation where it wouldn't be appropriate for a mental health professional to respond. And what does this have to do with peers, right? So in doing this research over the last year about how an SCU should be set up and what might work the best, they saw that peers were essential for this process, primarily in that first connect. So when that first person gets on the scene, what's going to make you feel most comfortable? Is it someone in a uniform that's saying things that sound like they came straight from a textbook, right? Is that going to make you feel comfortable? Or are you going to feel comfortable if someone approaches you who's been through something similar, who can tell you what it was like for them, what the place is like that you're going to, and what your options are, what worked for them, right? So they saw that this initial connection, having it be a peer, was really important. And that of all the people they interviewed, all the different organizations and options they looked at, that it might be a peer that's best suited to have that first connection with somebody. And so they're now trying to implement the SU, but we can't do that overnight in a city, right? It takes time, it takes training, but they knew that for decades, right, someone must have been filling this gap. So they looked at community organizations that have been doing similar work that could offer bridge services, so they could offer these services while the SCU is being implemented. And the Berkeley Drop-In Center was selected as one of those organizations. So why were we picked and what are we doing, right? So we'll start by just talking about where we're located. That's an important part of why we were picked. So, you know, many of you aren't familiar with the Berkeley area. Many of you probably aren't familiar with the California area. So this map might not look like a lot to you. So I'll do my best to explain. The Berkeley Drop-In Center is located in South Berkeley, which is on the border of North Oakland. And if we think about this just over the history of time, this area was disproportionately impacted over the decades by things like the war on drugs. So we see that this area has been an epicenter for disproportionate oppression for a long time. And we see that generational impact until today, right? Within the 5-block radius of where this is, we have 2 prominent encampments. One is the Here There encampment. The other is the encampment in People's Park. So we're well situated in an area where there is a high need of services. To talk a little bit about who our community is, who the participants are that we serve. Over 50% of the folks we serve at the Berkeley Drop-In Center identify as Black or African American. Almost 70% identify as male. Again, over 65% identify with homelessness. So this would be current homelessness. And we define homelessness as living anywhere that's not suited for being a home. So that could be a car, it could be under an underpass, or it could be even unreliably couch surfing. We see that, again, almost 65% identify with having a disability. And we broke this down into what that disability looked like. We saw that it was predominantly had to do with mental health and SUD. So what are we doing to meet people where they are? At the network, we like to take it a step further. We don't like to say meeting people where we are. We like to say that we're accepting them where they are, which means we say we see you, we know where you are, but maybe we can try to meet here. And how do we do that? So I'm going to pass it to Emmanuel to talk about the services at the Berkeley Drop-In Center.
Okay. So my name is Emmanuel, and here at the Berkeley Drop-In Center, and we are doing the crisis services and the crisis continuum. And so there is some basics that we are approaching in crisis counseling and offering emotional support. And crisis prevention and post-crisis support groups are also going to be offered here and will be following a tailored wrap curriculum. The peer supports will always have 2 peer support specialists that will be available for drop-in and peer counseling and support during regular business hours between 9 and 4. So getting our folks out there and active. We'll also have some specialty peers that will be dealing with substance abuse disorder. Peer specialists will be available at the contractor's location, which is at the Drop-In Center 20 hours per week. And then we'll have our basic outreach where we'll be doing some relationship building, but where peer support specialists will be conducting outreach within a 5-block radius of our location here, and to help and create and identify individuals on the verge of crisis or are in crisis, and to provide necessary support. We would be using our resource connections and warm handoffs. So 2 resource specialists, including 1 housing specialist, 1 SUD specialist, and then we'll have 6 peer support specialists, all of which have unique navigation expertise. Will be able to facilitate the navigation training, resource connections, and support at every stage to ensure warm handoffs and a seamless continuum of care. The crisis peer respite, which is on site here at the Berkeley, or will be on site at the Berkeley Drop-In Center, will include 2 sleeping cots, 1 shower, and 1 designated peer respite room with crisis supportive materials will be made available during regular business hours for individuals who are actively in crisis. So in an effort to divert individuals away from hospitalization and incarceration, a peer support specialist will be available to support individuals actively in crisis move through a full range of emotions, safety, and being efficient. So giving them a platform and a safe place to express themselves and also have the support to navigate through a crisis.
Thanks, Emmanuel. And these are going to be building on our existing programs that we have at the Berkeley Drop-In Center. And we like to think about how we meet needs kind of in a tiered approach. So the first thing we like to do is we try to meet the basic life needs of folks. So a few of the services we have are a free mail service. So one of the challenges that we might not associate with homelessness is that you don't have a place to receive mail. And that causes a lot of challenges, like, how do I receive my benefits? How do I vote by mail, right? So there is a lot of things that go on when you don't have a mailbox. So we offer free mail service. Another challenge that comes along with not having a safe place to stay is, where do you store your things that are valuable to you? So we have a free locker program. We also offer things like refreshments, coffee, snacks, hot food. We offer a phone service, and we help folks sign up for reduced or free phones. We have computer access where folks can do whatever you need to do on a computer. Mostly it is helping folks sign up for different services or look for employment. We have other urgent needs like clean clothing. So that varies from summer to winter, the types of clothing. We're providing sleeping bags, warm socks. We have hygiene kits that range from shaving kits to menstrual kits. And we have those year round again. The next tier is what we think of as co-occurring challenges. So after those basic life needs are met, what else is happening? What else is a challenge right now? So we think of those things as our payee services. So if you're receiving benefits, you might need some support in handling that money. You might need some support in making sure your rent is paid each month. And so we have a payee person to help with that. We support people on applications, employee assistance, getting an ID, getting a birth certificate, getting a social security card, right? These are things that we need to address some other things like employment. And then that top tier is that sustainable wellness. So maybe now we have some tools. How do we stay well? How do we engage in sustainable wellness? And one of the core things we believe is important to that is a sense of community, a sense that people are there and care about you, that there's always someone you can turn to talk to. So that's right, that peer support, those groups, one-on-one and group support where you know that there's people there for you that have been through similar things, that you're not alone, that you're not the first person this has happened to, and there are people here that you can share your story with without judgment and who might even be able to relate to you. The idea when Sally and the other founders of this movement had when they created the Berkeley Drop-In Center is that it would be run by the people who it served. So the idea is maybe you do walk by one day and you see that it's there and you see the coffee cart out. So you do stop and you have a cup of coffee. And then maybe while you're there having a cup of coffee, you see that there's a group going on. So you go to the group and maybe you just listen that day, but maybe you heard something you liked. So you come back next week and you attend the group again. And maybe that becomes part of your routine. And you start spending more and more time at the center and to the point where you're saying, well, I'm here a lot. Why don't I volunteer and see if I can help out as well? Because it's helped me. And then eventually those same people are working at the center. So that's kind of the philosophy we like to follow. The people who work at the center are the same people that are served by the center. We are who we serve. And then our program manager of the Berkeley Drop-In Center Jorge Colon could not be here today, but he did record a video for us about the center and to give us a little tour. It is a little silly, so great. We got to keep it light and bright and humor. We have some hard jobs to do. So here is a little video about the center.
Hey everybody, I'm George Colon, the program manager here at the Berkeley Drop-In Center. I'm going to take you on a quick tour. I'm going to explain what's our resources here. Right here we have our displays showing different flyers of groups that we have here or events that we have here at the Berkeley Drop-In Center. Also, we will post job referrals, job employment information here. We have John, our resource person, who's actually doing a group in the cafeteria. He's doing a group for the moment. He helps the clients, the members, do housing searches or even get them on the list for any open applications for housing. And if we can't help them with any resource here, we'll make sure to have them with referrals in another avenue. As you can see, we have a computer hub area where they do job searches here or applications for anything they need. We have hygiene kits located in our drawers on the side. This way you walk into our nice, comfortable living room area where members come to a seat on the couch, relax, breathe, meditate in this area. We'll walk back here into our locker area. This is an important resource area. This is our locker system where clients and members can come in and store their private materials in here. And then we open up the lockers for them and we lock it back when they finish. Over here on this side is our telephone booth area where if a member don't have a cell phone or a way to use a phone access, they can come in here as many times as they want and use our phone and make any kind of calls they want. Hey everybody, so we're taking a walk through our cafeteria. This is our cafeteria area. A member can come inside, have a cup of coffee, some snacks, some hot food. We have a refrigerator right here. We also do groups in this room where we do wellness groups, all kinds of supporting groups in this cafeteria area. And also if they need to catch a movie, when it's relaxation times, we play a movie on and play some music. A lot of different events is held in this cafeteria area.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Gladys Zhao. Welcome to Berkeley Drop-In Center. I am the reception from front desk. Also help for people that mailing, lockers, filling form for ID. Yes, I'm registered for the people, for the members. Everyone is welcome. And very good support for everyone needed help in this drop-in center.
Okay, this is John Holloway from the Berkeley Drop-In Center. And one of the wonderful things I like to do is outreach. And that is to go out there and hit the streets of Berkeley, People's Park, Provost Park, wherever the case may be, unhoused encampments. So take everything I have here at the resource hub here, and I take it out and hit the streets and try to help the unhoused. You know, so doing outreach is one of the most best things that I can do because I love to do it. Because in NA, we have a saying, I'm an images, you keep what you have by giving it away, right? So my job is to give myself to the unhoused like people did to me when I was out there on the streets. You know, I was homeless for 2 years, but I stuck to my guns, turned down all the drugs that was offered to me, and here I am today. All right, so thank you again. This is John Holloway. I'm happy, you know, to be where I am today. I love my job here. I love the Berkeley Drop-In Center because I feel that I was placed here because I've worked at other rehab centers, but this is different from all the other ones because I work directly with the unhoused. So thank you very much. Everybody out there have a blessed day. Take care. Adios.
Awesome. So that's a little bit about the center, and you got to meet a couple staff members too. Oh, we don't need to watch it again. Here we go. So now the expansion of our services. So Emmanuel gave us kind of a breakdown of what we'll be doing. We got a contract for this amount of money to do crisis services and the expansion. So again, all the services we already mentioned will stay in place, and this will be an expansion of our existing services. And Emmanuel took us through this breakdown and what we'll be offering in our deliverables. I'll just run through the 6 really quickly again, and then I'll hand it back to Emmanuel. So again, kind of in 6 parts, we have crisis counseling and emotional support. We'll be offering peer support, which will look like one-on-one and group support. We'll be offering substance use support. So we'll have a peer specialist that specializes, that's hard to say, in SUD supports. They're at the center 20 hours a week. We'll be doing that basic outreach and relationship building, like John talked about in the video, where we're doing on foot outreach within a 5-block radius that I talked about. There's a great need within that 5-block radius. We'll be doing resource connection and warm handoffs, or like we like to call fiery handoffs, where we know where they're going to next. We say, Susan is going to talk to you here. I'll actually be there to meet you, right? So they know where they're going next. They have information about it, and we're going to meet them there. And then what we're most excited about is this peer respite crisis piece. So when we were thinking about what was missing in this crisis system, is that there's no place where we can go and have a crisis where it's supported. So what we're actually going to have is a room where you can scream as loud as you want. It's soundproof. You can scream as loud as you want. There's a punching bag. If you need to punch something, get out that energy. If you want to listen to some music, draw, journal in a supported way, we'll have a space where you can actually do that. And we'll have people there who've been through similar crises who can talk with you if you want to talk to somebody, or when you're ready to talk, where they can talk to you and figure out next steps. So to have this supportive place with sleeping cots and a shower, treadmills, clay, whatever you need to work through a crisis in a supported and safe way, we're going to have that for you. Yes, and Emmanuel will talk to us more about what the crisis continuum is and how we meet people at each stage in the crisis continuum.
Thank you, Janavi. The crisis continuum includes every stage of a crisis situation, including the crisis stage in which crisis prevention strategies and interventions are utilized. The mid-crisis state, which is often used as a blanket statement to mean any range of intense or difficult emotions, feelings, or sensation. This mid-crisis state may also be referred to as an altered state of consciousness, in which an individual may be experiencing a reality different than those around them. In all states across the mid-crisis continuum, it is found that support is integral for easing a transition into the post-crisis state. The post-crisis state occurs after the immediate crisis and is when post-crisis support is implemented. The Alameda County Network of Mental Health Clients advocates that this post-crisis state lasts for a minimum of 6 months, in which ongoing support is critical for the sustained wellness of the individual. It is important to note, like all recovery, the crisis continuum is cyclical, meaning that the post-crisis and pre-crisis states may transition into one another. Furthermore, the continuous and cyclical nature of crises indicates that there are no back steps in recovery, just cyclical patterns that can be made less challenging through comprehensive support. So peer support, so then we go into the peer support tenets. The power of mutuality. Each individual is assumed to have the best knowledge about themselves, so supporting that. People who receive peer support guide their own services and growth and healing. Peers are given the freedom and responsibility to communicate what works best for them. Then we approach it by the power of people finding their own solutions. Peer support specialist workers' role is not to fix the problem our peers are facing. Peer support specialist workers are there to listen and let our peers know that we believe in them. The power of being with. Just being in the present with a person builds trust. Peer support specialist workers accept participants for who they are and honor their choices they make. And we do this oftentimes by using motivational interviewing, which is a collaborative, client-centered, goal-oriented style of communication with being mindful and supportive of the language of change. It is meant to support personal motivation, growth, and strengthen the commitment to specific goals by looking and eliciting a person's own reasons for change. For change within an honest form of acceptance and compassion. These changes are successful when it is client-driven. The peer support in pre-crisis. The peer support specialists facilitated WRAP programs tailored for crisis prevention, ongoing drop-in peer counseling and on-foot outreach, peer-led wellness support groups, peer crisis support with tailored WRAP programs to prevent subsequent crises within 6 months of the initial crisis. Peer support during a crisis. Peer supporting a space with crisis supportive materials to allow peers to move through a crisis in a safe way that allows for growth, learning, and healing. Crisis equals learning, growth, and recovery. If you've ever been in a mental health crisis or talked to a peer who has had the experience with intense emotions, you might hear them talk about having a crisis saved their lives, or that it was an event that taught them a lot about themselves and the world. We believe that crises, or these moments of intense emotions, are opportunities for growth, learning, and recovery. We hope to be able to provide a space where folks can move through emotions in a safe way with their peers. Our space would include crisis supportive materials like a punching bag, a treadmill, art supply, music, all in a soundproofed room to allow you to exert any sounds or energy a person feels they need to, all with the support of a peer who has been in similar situations. Peer support in post-crisis. The short-term post-crisis support usually is often between 1 to 7 days. The post-crisis is 7 days to 6 months. And then we will be looking at the extended post-crisis support of 6+ months. Thank you very much.
Yeah, so I know we just unloaded a lot of information. So I, again, wanted to open it up for questions about the program. Again, we're starting this up right now. So I'd love to hear any questions you have or comments. Maybe you're doing something similar in your community or work with a similar program in your community. I'd love to hear any feedback or questions. And again, feel free to drop it in the chat or just take yourself off mute.
Yes, I have a question. You said you guys had the highest number of 5150s in the state. What has driven the number down? Your services, are you still doing 5150? What happened?
Yeah, great question. So I was referencing a report that was done in 2018 when they first decided that we needed some alternative supports for crisis intervention other than police assistance. So we are hoping that these programs we're implementing now will drive down the instances of 5150s, but it's a little bit too early to tell yet, right? So these programs are just getting started up now, and we're hoping that it will divert away from hospitalization and incarceration. And when we look at other states who've implemented these things, those trends do show that way. So we're hoping they'll show the same way in Alameda County.
Thank you.
It's a great question. Anybody else with questions, comments?
I wanted to ask, I know that you guys work a lot within the African American culture. So with that being said, is a lot of staff like culturally competent in some of the things that we have been through, that we go through, and stuff like that? Like, do they have that support, I would want to say? Because I know that is something that is very important in our community. And so I just wanted to inquire about that.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. That was definitely at the forefront of what we're thinking about when we did this program. We wanted to make sure that the people that were providing services in this program were the same community that we were serving. So that's a priority, to make sure that the program we're creating looks like and is the people we're also serving. So like I said, the people we're serving are predominantly Black men. So you want the program service providers to be predominantly Black men as well, who've been through similar experiences. The programs that we have as well are also led by people of the similar community. So all 5 programs we have right now are led by women of color. And that's an ongoing factor for us, that we want to make sure that we're culturally responsive to the communities. And I'll open if anybody else wants to add in as well from our team.
Yeah, my name is Emmanuel. And we also are going through rigorous training on cultural sensitivities. I was born in France, and I immigrated to this country 25 years ago and encountered a lot of struggles. I also suffer from mental illness and PTSD. I look at my position and the role of peers with sensitivity, because there is even that goes beyond just these forms of and situations of cultural identity. There is some basics that we can all meet at, and a lot of that is related to trauma, and recognizing that folks have trauma, meeting them where they are, and treating them with respect, courtesy, and kindness. You can bridge those connections fairly rapidly, and it is a wonderful thing to witness.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Hi, this is Chaleen again. I'm just so amazed by your services. I have a feeling that your system is coming to LA. They've been talking about it, and I can't wait. Thank you for sharing today, and I'm so glad to be a part of this. I'm just really elated by all of you guys, your whole team, and this is what the services should be about. We are the people we serve. Thank you.
Thank you. And I know we're 2 minutes over now, aren't we?
Unfortunately.
Thanks, Constance, for keeping us on track. I appreciate
Oh,
that.
of course. Thank you so much. I really appreciate our presenters, Katrina, Killian, Janavi, Dhyani, DeeDee, Thatcher, and Emmanuel Fonlupt. Thank you so much. Thank you to all the attendees. And if you came in and didn't get the little request to please put your name and contact information, email in the chat, so we can send you a survey, and the recording and the information from these presentations will be available as well. So the room will stay open. The next session that we have is at 2. And thank you so much again. That was wonderful.